Good morning. It is time for Art in the AM, and happy Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day, and it's time for Columbus Day too. So today I decided to start. I had been working in this watercolor journal for all of 2025, and I got to I have one more page left in the book there. And what I decided to do, I asked on last week's video, would you rather see me start another book for the word of the week that I had started, or would you rather see what I have been doing every October, which is providing a list of pumpkin prompts, I call them, and I have done a journal every single year. I have this little piece of hair right here that's like out of, it's not laying down flat. But I've done this pumpkin journal every single year, and I give a prompt inside of my Art Journaling 101 group, and I have a journal for every single year for the past 4 years. And this year, I actually have not really started the October prompts. I do still plan on doing one for every day of the month, but there have just been a lot of different things going on at the beginning of October, and I have created my own journal. So I created this little journal, and I did start a little bit yesterday, but I wanted to show you, I've just created this journal with the packing paper that comes inside of an Amazon package, because it's like a long, just from a roll, it looks like, of this craft paper, right? Just like this brown craft paper. So what I did is I cut it down, and this is a 6x6 square, so it's a 6x12 inch piece of paper, and I just folded all of them in half. They aren't cut perfect. They aren't all lined up. You can kind of see they're like a little uneven. And then what I did is I found just like a heavier piece of cardboard. And this one actually is more, I think these were from the back of scrapbook paper, right? Like, you know, the bound pieces of the scrapbook paper together. And that was what I used for the back. And I feel like this was probably something like that too. What I was thinking about doing was putting maybe a piece of fabric or something over here just to make like a little nicer binding, which I haven't done yet. But I did create the journal last week, and I did put the covers on last week. And then yesterday, what I did is I put the entire list of all of the pumpkin prompts inside of here. And what I'm going to show you today is my past 4 years of today's prompt. So during the month of October, I'm going to do the prompt for that specific day. If you want to see more, let me take a drink of water. If you want to see more ideas for these pages, these journal pages, these prompts, you can go to Art Journaling 101, which is my group. It's really for sharing a lot more than just in a journal. Like, we share some other things in there too, and things that I've done here on this page you can share in there. But the pumpkin prompts, people are posting their pictures. That's a lot of P words there. They're posting their pictures in that group of their prompts. And I've been trying to post a picture of the past 4 years of the journals as inspiration, as ideas, right? Because that's what I try to do, is to give you these little sparks of inspiration, these little ideas that you can take and like make your own and do whatever it is that I'm showing to you. So yesterday I put the prompts in here, and you'll notice it has this ripped edge. I'm going to show you how I did that in a very fun and easy way. And that was how I got that ripped edge on there. So now I have this prompt list inside my journal so I can refer to it, right? And I've done that in my other journals and I'm going to show to you. The very first prompt is a polka dot pumpkin. So that's day one. Now you can do these prompts in any order that you want. I just usually do them in order because it's easy and then I can just go through and I know which day. I think there was one year where I chose to do them in whatever order I had the idea, right? So if I had an idea for a striped pumpkin, I would just do that day. And I didn't do them in order. But for the past couple of years, I believe that I've done them all in order. So yesterday I did start a polka dot pumpkin because that was day one. And this is, I don't feel like it's completely finished. I feel like I'm going to put a quote or something over here. Maybe even some splatter because that would be like more kind of polka dots. But I took these 3 pieces of paper and they were just these little smaller pieces of scrapbook paper, right? That you can get like in those little pads of paper. And there were several polka dot ones. So you can see there was like little small polka dots and then there was this bigger polka dots in there. And I also ripped these pieces of paper. Obviously you can tell I ripped this one, which was another pad of paper, right? And I just ripped so that it would kind of fit. The challenge of this brown craft paper is going to be if I decide to just work right on the paper or if I decide to add something to it, right? Because if I start with the brown and I want to paint something, it's going to be affected probably by that brown paper. So I haven't kind of started to do that in this journal yet, but that's the only page that I've done so far. One of the nice things about creating a journal like this, and I literally just took the 6x12 sheets of paper and I just took a glue stick and glued the pages together. So these 2 pages glued together are fairly thin. And this, by adding the paper to it, really kind of gave it some thickness. But one of the nice things now that I'm turned to this page is it opens flat, right? And it gives me this entire 6x12 inch space to go through and work on. So I'm going to show you 5 ideas today for a striped pumpkin. And what I'm going to start with is the pages that I've done in the past. And I will go in order. The very first year that I did this was 2021. And this was the cover of the journal that I did for that one. And for striped pumpkin, I actually did 2 pages, but this has the spiral in there, right? Some of these pages I did horizontally, some of them I did vertically. It just kind of depended, whatever I felt like that day. Have you ever heard this quote before? October is my favorite color. I really like that one. And I did start to do a little bit more of journaling in this one. So this is, it was a 2-page, my striped pumpkin. And you can see I did 3 striped pumpkins. And can you tell what these are made of? Can you tell these little stripes here, these little stripes that I did on all of these, can you tell what those are made of? Hi there, Kathy. You're the first comment that I've seen. So I was going to try to swipe and see if, yeah, yours is the first one that I've seen. The pumpkins that I did for all of these, I did use a template, a stencil. I think it was like a template. It was like a cut out pumpkin, and that was what I used. So I did use that as a tracer, if you will. And I traced it onto this paper. So this is paper back here, any kind of paper. That is one of the things that I love about the pumpkin prompts. I really do try to use what I have and not create new things. and it really forces me to like use up some of my supplies. If you are a person that has a lot of supplies because you do mixed media or paper crafts or journaling or junk journaling, these prompts will they'll just give you a way to be able to use some of those supplies. So on top of the paper, these stripes right here for the striped pumpkin are washi tape. Such an easy way to do striped pumpkins is using washi tape. And one of the things that I really like, and then I even use some of my extra washi tape and pieces from my cut out pumpkins, and I created like this border, a little block to do some journaling in there. And I actually wrote about the day before and going on, every year we call it our Pumpkin Palooza. And that was because yesterday was my birthday. And every year for my birthday, we go on this Pumpkin Palooza to try to find new pumpkin things. And yesterday I found pumpkin scones, so good, at this unbelievable French bakery. If you look up French bakery where you live and you can find one, go to it. Because I will tell you, it is very artistic, very beautiful pastries and donuts and breads and all kinds of things that are colorful and just fun to look at. And that was where we went to yesterday. This particular one, which I think there are locations in many places, is called Paris Baguette. So it's a little French bakery. It's a chain. We have 2 of them in the area. So we went there and I got a little pumpkin scone. So good. And then I feel like I had some other pumpkin things during the day. I had a pumpkin sundae. That was my lunch, actually, from the ice cream that is local to Cincinnati, Ohio, and that is called Graeter's. And it's what they call a French pot ice cream. I used to know like the process of how they made it, but it was a sundae that had a spice cake on the bottom, the pumpkin ice cream, which is the best, homemade whipped cream, then butterscotch syrup, and pecans. It was so good. That was my lunch. It was so good. And then to finish off the day, this was the very first time that I have ever found this in Cincinnati, and it was a pumpkin espresso martini at a coffee shop that stayed open later and had a bar. So they made their pumpkin espresso martini with a real shot of espresso, and it was delicious. They put a they use a little, it almost looked like what you use to do like the rind of a lemon. I don't know what they call it, like a, not a grinder, I don't know what that's called, like a zester. That's what the zester, it's because the lemon zest. But they had a little block of pumpkin pie spice and brown sugar, and it was like a block, and then she took it and like grated it over the top of the glass, so it was all covered on the top. So when you put your nose up to it, that's what you smelled, was the pumpkin pie spice and the brown sugar. So good. If you want to see any of all of those things that we did yesterday, you can go over and follow my profile for my name. So if you look up Jamie Norvell and you'll see a picture of my face, you can follow my public profile, my personal profile, and I'll put there's all kinds of pictures. And then we went to this pumpkin jack-o'-lantern glow at the zoo. You have to go over and see those photos. I will try to post some of them over here too, but sometimes I just don't go both places. They were just incredible. of how people could carve these pumpkins. And we think that they were like a foam kind of a pumpkin, right? They were so incredible the way that people had painted and carved, and they were just really cool. Okay, so back to the pumpkin pages. So this one is my striped pumpkin with washi tape. So that is idea 1. And I'll put these off to the side. Then you can definitely do stripes with markers and paint. So that was what I did on this one. I did stripes of markers, and I think this was even a silver marker going down here. And then I kind of did it the same in here too. This is not glued on here, so this is separate. I know, Kathy, they were just incredible. I'm probably going to use some of them for inspiration for some of my pumpkin pages. Hi there, Sue. Hi, Lori. Because they were just incredible. So I did this one all with markers. And the markers that I used specifically were these markers because they are so juicy. They are, seeing if I can find the, I know it's backwards, Karin, Karin, and they are brush markers. So that is what I used for those, and I happen to use some fluorescent ones. So very simple, right? You can draw a pumpkin on there, trace a pumpkin, get a template, get a stencil. I actually have these that I use a lot for my pumpkin journals. It was a set of stencils, jack-o'-lantern faces, and that was what I use a lot of times. But a pumpkin, basically an oval. This one has 5 ovals and they just overlap. I mean, a pumpkin can be just about any shape, any size. So that is idea number 2. So you have washi tape and then you have markers. There are 2 ideas. This one I actually also used washi tape, but I want to show you, this is probably the easier washi tape idea, where you lay down all the washi tape and then you do a negative painting around the pumpkins. And I'll show you. So you can see the washi tape runs all the way through. So I really just took a page and I lined up the washi tape, just all different kinds of washi tape, just stripes of washi tape going down. And then I drew these pumpkins on there, and then I painted, but I painted with a paint that was more transparent. If you want to be able to see underneath, transparent paint is what you want to use. And one of the ways that you can make paint transparent a little bit more is to add water to it, right? And it'll water it down. Or you can actually use watercolor. And I feel like I also did some stenciling, very subtle. Can you see over top here? Just to make this a little different than the pumpkins. So you have washi tape where you lay it down and cut it out, but then you can do washi tape where you lay it down and paint a negative painting around it. And, you know, and then just added a quote on there, and it was just a fun way to be able to see all of those washi tapes like work together. This one actually was last year's. And one of the things that I did last year was I documented on the back of each one of my pages how I did the page. And I showed like pieces of all of the washi tapes. I had the color of paint here, which I was looking to see if I put the color Deco Art Neon. So it must have been it looks like a darker pink than I was thinking that I had for the neon, but it looks like it was a Deco Art Neon, Ultraviolet Deco Art Neon. I didn't even know that I had that one, but that is the color that I put around. The neon paints, they look like these, the Deco Art Neon, are more transparent. They, just because of the neon, I guess. But that was a fun way last year to like document on each one of the pages how I did them so that I could look back. This one is a black journal that I did. So the pages are black, and that was definitely a challenge. I did this one in 2023, and when I was looking through in order, I didn't really feel like this was the striped pumpkin, but they all look like they were done in order. So the only thing that I could figure out was the pumpkins, how they're painted, are striped. So see how there's an orange and then a pink and then the orange, and these is kind of like a yellow orange, and then this one is the lighter and the darker pink. But I love that little image. I feel like I got inspiration from an image, and that's where I had that lamp, and I probably added the spiral. It probably didn't have a little thing like that. Lori, the black book, I have put a cover on in here, so I don't know that I have any like marking on you know what the brand name is, but I am pretty sure that I got it at Hobby Lobby, and it was just a black, probably like a drawing journal. The paper is not that thick, so it was probably not because here is the first page. It's a little bit heavier than like a copy paper, maybe more like a sketchbook. That is probably, I would probably say that it's a sketchbook. Yeah, this is just a really nice size. It's probably like a 4.5 by 7, 4 by 7 maybe or something. So that black one was a lot of fun, and that's probably what kind of gave me the idea for this one to do the brown, just to challenge myself a little bit with the brown paper. So today, what I thought that I would do is kind of combine a little bit of what I had done on those pages and just kind of use some of the things that I have on my table. And I did grab a piece of paper that I wanted to use that is specifically Halloween, and it is a thinner scrapbook paper. You know, there are two kinds of, you know, like the pads of scrapbook paper. Some of that paper is really thick, and I find that kind of difficult to collage with and to glue with. So I love when I can find the scrapbook papers that are thinner, right? So this is my Halloween one. It has kind of like these little spider webs, and it says like spooky and happy Halloween and trick or treat on there. And I just love the little spirally letters and, you know, just kind of like the different colors. So what I thought that I would do is use this in the background of my page here. And I will go ahead and, now I am going to do this on day 13. So this was day 1, 2. I'll go ahead and turn this down so you can kind of see. A lot of times what I do for my journals when I have the prompts is in pencil, I will go ahead and kind of label down here. So if I do get an idea for, you know, a pumpkin border, you know, is day 20, then I could go in and I could kind of like mark day 20 and put something there maybe that I found that would work well for that, or an idea that I had, or, you know, something like that. So this is day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I don't know what that is in there, and 13. So this is 13. So I still plan on doing these other pages in there. I just haven't yet. I just haven't yet. So let me go ahead and find a couple of things. And I have some of these papers here. I have those leftover, these leftover papers. And I painted these orange papers the other day, so I thought I might try those. This is the pack where I got the wood from. So I have all of those papers and then that background of I was using there. So I have kind of like all of my, oh, I have these kind of extra ones over here. Okay, so in the back here, what I thought that I would use is this paper. And it has kind of this chalky like border, so it's kind of like darker around the corners. And I'm obviously not going to be able to use that on all of the sides. So I either need to figure out if I want to keep it straight or if I wanted to do like I did on that first page and kind of like rip it. Honestly, Lori, all of these little pads came from my mom. She has been going through and getting rid of and sorting through some of her papers. So a lot of these she's gotten from all kinds of different places. And I just got them from her. So I think what I would like to do on the back is do the ripped like I did on the first page, and you know, kind of leave a little bit of this brown on here. And I might try to replicate this border, you know, but then I'll do it on after I like rip it out. So if this paper actually almost fits, because these scrapbook papers are 12 by 12 papers, they fit perfect in here. So I actually think I'm just going to use the paper as it is. I don't think that I am going to rip it, which means if I wanted to do this kind of border, then I would need to do it on the top side there too. So let's see. I am going to take a pencil, and I know that this is about 6 inches. I'll be able to cut off whatever I don't use. And I don't have my ruler right here. So I'm going to take this piece of paper. It is also 12 inches. And I'm going to line it up with this edge and then this line that I just drew over here. And that's how I'm going to get a straight line. Just use what you have. My ruler wasn't convenient. Okay, so I'm going to cut this. And sometimes when I have a bigger piece of paper like this, I don't use my glue stick. I will use the double-sided tape that you can get from the Dollar Tree. And then I'll still use that for something. Oh, I just closed this up on the page that I wanted to do. I should have marked it. So now I got to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to write this on here just in case it closes up again. So what I'm going to do is line it up with the top edge, and then if I need to cut off some on the bottom, I will do that, and then I'll figure out how to, I have some ideas of how to do this, you know, kind of grungy like edge on there. I am actually going to use my glue stick, put this on here. Are any of you doing the pumpkin prompts in the Art Journaling 101 group? Are you following in order? Do you like to just be random and just whatever one, you know, sounds fun that day? Tell me if you're doing the pumpkin prompts. And you don't necessarily need to do one every single day. That's what I've chosen to do. You could just pick and choose the ones that you like. I'm just going to make sure that is pressed down really well. And what I'll actually do is kind of open up the book and kind of press down that way too. And so it has that crease. And if I look, it wasn't too far off. I'll cut that to make sure. I was trying to put the lid on the wrong glue stick there. So I will take and cut this. And every once in a while when I glue like that with the glue stick, it doesn't catch all of the edges. So I may need to add a little bit of glue to some of the edges here, it looks like. I could even use this for stripes. So it's kind of a fun background. And then for the bottom right here, to get this kind of like grungy edge, I am going to use my Stabilo pencil and I'm going to color some in here. And add some water to it so it makes it like this ink. And I'm just going to add that to the bottom here. And it doesn't make it exactly like the top, but I'm going to do something else here to maybe try to get it a little bit closer. Go ahead and color. But you see how I just colored that on there to get a little bit of the pigment from the pencil. And I added some water. And now what I'm going to do, because this kind of has this a little different. So I'm going to take my paper towel. Whoop! My stand started moving because I was pressing down. Okay, so I think that idea is going to work. There's a lot more on the paper towel here. So go around and try to make this same idea here. So I will finish that later, but I wanted to show you how that way at least the top and the bottom are kind of similar. So for the striped pumpkin, what I thought that I would do is I think I'm going to use one of these and just use whatever kind of random, I think I'll use this white paper that I traced. So this is just going to be like what I'm going to place my stripes on. And I think for this one, I will probably just have one striped pumpkin and then leave some room for adding some other things on there. Okay, this is going to be the back. What I'm going to do is take this side, and that's where I'm going to start putting my stripes. And I'm going to take some washi tape because it works really well for making very easy stripes. I like that you can see through this one a little bit. I like to repeat things, so I'm going to put this on here 3 times. And I'll do one more. I don't want to have them like evenly spaced on there. I just kind of spread out on there. And then I'm going to take another washi tape. Oh, I kind of like this polka dot one. And maybe I'll kind of overlap a little bit so I can kind of see that stripe through there. So I kind of like that. And then maybe on this side I'll overlap the, I don't know, the keys that are on there. So that makes that a little bit different. I'll put it one more time. So what I'm going to do on this one is a combination of paper, washi tape, and paint. And then I'm going to take, I think I'm going to use this polka dot one, and maybe this orange would work in there. So this paper here is a little bit thicker, but I like the edge that's over here. That was just like where I ripped it out of the packaging or whatever, but I really want to have more of like this kind of strip in here, and I think that it would fit pretty well like right in there. So what I'm going to do is flip it over, and this is the little trick that I wanted to show to you. I have my water and just a little detail brush, and I'm going to paint some water. And with a heavier paper like this, you have to have a good amount of water on there, because what you want to do is have it absorb in through the paper. And I want it to be a little strip in there. I don't know that I'm going to be able to use this paper 3 times, but I have another paper that's similar to it that is longer that I'll be able to use. Yeah, so all of these are pretty similar. You know, they have all the same colors in there. So I'm going to let this kind of absorb into here. And I will get 2 more of these ready. I really like this one with that yellow kind of down in there. You could definitely rip these, just, you know. But I just wanted to show you this little kind of trick. And this works for if you wanted to go around. Like I did that with the prompts. I wanted to go around the lettering, and I wanted to kind of control that a little bit more. So by painting the water on there, and you'll see, so that's my second one. And then I think I want a little piece of this one, and I'll just rip this one. But I wanted to show you with the water how you could do that. So this one is absorbed in, and what I like to do is have one thumb on one side of where it's wet and one on the other, and then I can rip that, and what it does is it stays on that line of where I had the water, and you can see that's pretty even in there. And when I'm ripping the back, I won't see any of the white edge. If I do it from this side, and I just have to kind of like see where the line is, then I do get more of that white edge. And so the side that I have my thumb holding onto the strip, that's where I see more of the white edge on there. So on this one, I want both of the white edges. So I will start here. I think adding the water like that just kind of gives you like a nice rough edge, but you can control it, right? So it just, you know, I like how it's kind of uniform, like right about the same thickness. And look, I can use those for something else too. And then I'm going to show you the difference between these two that I use the water, and now this one I'm not going to use the water. So I like to have my thumb on the side that, my left thumb on the side that I am going to be using, and I want to get rid of this line over here. So then, and if I want to see the white edge, I'm going to rip towards me. And you see how with this one, I have to kind of control it a little bit more. And I'm getting more of the white of the paper. So I'm getting more of the white of the paper there than I did on this one. Because I didn't have the wet line there. And then this is the piece that I want to use. So I'm putting my thumb down. And it's going to be right about the thickness that I want. And now it's a little bit easier for me to kind of control. And so then that's my strip for that one there. So I'm going to use all three of these strips. And what I will do is just put the glue on the back here. A lot of times I will use something and put down on my table. This time I didn't. But then what I'll do after several weeks is I'll like scrape my table from all the glue. What I like about using these ripped edges is now, since I use the washi tape that has the straight edge, this softens that. And I like how that looks. I like the soft edges. Usually when I think of stripes, a lot of times I'll think of, you know, more, oh, I didn't even need that whole piece there. I'll think of edges that are straight instead of jagged, I guess. So I'm going to put the glue on here instead of the strip of paper. I know it's a little bit wider. And I just noticed I have this little piece right over here, but remember this is the back, so I don't think that I need to fill in that little tiny space there. Okay, so on the back here is now where I cut. And I will show you on that one with the polka dots what I did to kind of make it grungy, like around the edges, and kind of define the edge on there. I'll show you on this one. Even these pieces that I'm cutting out now here, just like the one that I showed you that had the border of the little frame where I did some journaling, that's what I used, was the pieces that I cut out from a pumpkin like this. And I think that I'm going to go ahead and make the stem a little bit different because I have the paper that goes up to that edge there. And you could, it would be a little bit more difficult because I have layered piece of paper, but see, I could save like all of those pieces to use for something too. If I wanted to have this as a ripped edge, it would be harder because I layered the paper, but that is what I did for those three pumpkins. So I drew the shape of this pumpkin with water on the paper on all three of these, and then I just ripped those out. So the edge that I'm going to show you how I kind of did this edge on here is ripped, not cut like I did for this one. So you could do that. So here's my pumpkin. Are you ready to see what it looks like? With all the stripes. And there it is. How fun is that? Now, I see right here, there's like a lot of white. So I actually am going to take a little bit of paint. I'm going to take some, I think I'm going to do this neon paint, which is Scorching Yellow. I just need like the tiniest little bit. Because that Scorching Yellow is also what I used right in there. And it is like highlighter yellow. But it is transparent, so I can still see those dots. And I'm going to go ahead and do these on there too. So just some fun ways to be able to show stripes. I didn't really have an idea what I wanted to do for this one before we got started, before I just wanted to kind of use a combination of the washi tape and the strips of paper in there. So I feel like that's enough of that, and I still have leftover paint that I will use on something. So this will go somewhere on here, but do you see how there's no definition between this pumpkin and, hi there, Sandy, and the edge. So I can take my Stabilo, and I will just do this on a piece of paper here where you can kind of see. So I could take my Stabilo and I could, kind of color like around the edge. You can press down a little bit harder in some areas. And if I wanted, to be able to see where those, I always forget what they're called. Are they called ribs? If I wanted to be able to see where those ribs were on there. And I could do that, up in the stem a little bit too. So you could leave it like this, where you kind of see like a little bit of the edge. Or if you take just a little bit of water on your paintbrush with the Stabilo, you can see it darkens it. And that's how you can really start to define that line. If you don't have the Stabilo pencil, I'll tell you, you can just do so much with them because you can activate them with the water. You can do kind of like the shading like this. And sometimes I will just take and, if I want to soften it while it's still wet, I'll just take my finger and look how it picks up on the texture of that paper. I love how you can just do so many different things with the Stabilo. And I will show you how different this looks. Oh, I love how it went over that part there. Oh, this paint here was still kind of wet, so it really blended right there. I'll probably go in after this dries a little bit and kind of define that line just a little bit more. But let me show you. Now when I put this on here, now you can see the edges, right? So I may add a little bit down here to just give it something to kind of sit on. I may add a little bit of kind of gesso or some white paint kind of around here just to make this kind of stand out from the background. But I do think that I will leave the writing maybe over here. I may add some dots because there are dots here, you know, and somewhere else I might take like my Posca or something. But the fun thing about these pumpkin prompts are that you can play around and you can try things and you can use what it is that my stand is very slippery today. And you can use what it is that you have. And you don't have to start with the idea. I know it is kind of grungy, like right in there. Yeah, I just want to define that line. I won't do anything like with the grungy parts on there, but I'll probably just like define that line a little bit. But that's the fun thing for me about the pumpkin prompts is I don't have to have an idea beforehand. I may have some inspiration. I may have, you know, but just looking at my past for journals gave me the idea of using the paint and the washi tape. And I didn't use any markers, but I used, you know, the Stabilo, you know, and kind of combining. So it inspired me what I had already done for in here. But there are so many pumpkins, so many different ideas that you could use for inspiration. And doing that in a journal is just a quick and fun and easy way to use some of your materials. And, you know, I was thinking about this earlier. I love and appreciate that you come here to watch on Mondays. And if you've watched tutorials, you know, anywhere else and whatever. But I will say that if that is all that you're doing and you're not taking the time to do something creative inside of your journal, that really you are using tutorials like this, ideas like this, you know, videos that you're watching as entertainment and not inspiration. And really what I want to do is to inspire you to create. So I would love if every single one of you who watched this video, whether you're live, whether you're watching the replay, whether you watch it a year from now, to try the pumpkin prompts and try creating this habit of being consistently creating, even in a little small format like the journal. And then go post your ideas, go post your pages that you do over in Art Journaling 101. So we can see them and be inspired, and maybe they'll spark ideas for even more people to create. And that is my hope, that this idea that I showed to you today, the other 4 from my other journals, will spark you to create a pumpkin today and to maybe even use one of the prompts to be able to do that. The paints at Hobby Lobby. The neon ones, they are Deco Art neon paints. And they're in the Americana line. I have a pink, an orange, a yellow, a blue, a green. I use the green one a lot during this time of year too. And I think I have the magenta one that I used on one of the other pages too. So I think I got every single color that they had were, oh, good, Sue. I can't wait to see what you're doing on your canvas. That's awesome. So I hope that you do something creative today and that you go share it over in Art Journaling 101, because I would love to see it. I will comment. I will cheer you on. And I will be finishing up page 13 and also doing the other pages and posting those over in Art Journaling 101 too. So have a great day. I will see you back again next Monday, which will be the 20th, and it will be a pumpkin border. So there you go. Next week is a pumpkin border. So come back then at 10:30 a.m. Eastern for Art in the AM and a pumpkin border. I'll see you then.